Cyber attacks frequently occur without warning, and usually at the most inopportune times. At Google, we have an extensive amount of cybersecurity experience. We help organizations who are digitally transforming their business, and we secure their journey into the cloud. Our cloud services are secure for billions of users, and our Mandiant division helps organizations in times of crisis right after a breach. We've also just announced our intention to acquire Wiz, a cybersecurity unicorn, and this will be the largest acquisition of Google to date. You might not be familiar with Mandiant, so let me tell you a little bit about them. Mandiant, among other things, is an incident response firm, and we help organizations in the moment of crisis when they've been a victim of a cyber attack. We help to answer what happened and what to do about it. Let me play a short video so you can learn a bit more about Mandiant. As a cloud hyperscaler, Google knows how important cybersecurity is. Organizations in the cloud are often more secure than organizations on premise because of the economies of scale. But that doesn't mean there aren't cloud incidents. Over-provisioned accounts, misconfigurations, other oversights can lead to breaches in any cloud. At Google, we believe in shared fate. And so what we do is we build security right into the fabric of Google Cloud itself. And all of the security needs, reporting and monitoring, all roll up into a single solution called Security Command Center. It is the foundational security capability for Google Cloud. You can think of it like the seatbelt for your cloud. If today you're using Google Cloud, but you're not using Security Command Center, you're missing a critical layer of security. It's important also to know your adversary. And so in 2016, Bangladesh Central Bank was attacked in a cyber attack, and they lost $81 million. This was by a nation-state threat actor called APT-38. 9 years later, a cryptocurrency firm was attacked and lost $1.5 billion. Mandiant assisted in both of these cyber attacks, responding to them. And it's that knowledge over 9 years of the attacker, their techniques, who they are, how they operate, that allows Mandiant to answer questions more quickly about what happened and what to do about it, to get to the critical business questions so that the business can respond effectively. Confidentiality is critical in cybersecurity. Protecting your data is paramount. And so you might be using a productivity suite, and you might think all productivity suites are the same, but Google Workspace was born in the cloud. Its spreadsheets, its presentations, its word processing documents only live in the cloud. You can't download them onto a local laptop. And so protecting those documents is architecturally different. It means you have to protect one centralized location of a document rather than multiple copies of those documents, which could be distributed over many devices locally around the world. When we combine Chrome with Google Workspace in a secure enterprise browser fashion, we can even protect against screenshots which are trying to capture sensitive data. Now, there are a few things that Google doesn't have, but that's by design. For example, we've done away with VPNs. VPN technology has been around since 1996, and it's used by nation-state actors and financially motivated attackers alike. We've replaced that with a zero-trust architecture, and so we've eliminated the entire class of VPN-based attacks. Not just VPNs, but password changes. As Google employees, we don't change our passwords, ever, because our authentication models are strong enough to not have to do that repetitive exercise and frustrating exercise. And for you, well, most of our solutions are delivered as SaaS applications. And that means that the patching burden falls on Google and not on you. And who doesn't want less patching? Now we can turn also to the Security Operations Center, or the SOC. Imagine an alarm ringing 24 by 7 by 365, all day, every day. This is what SOC analysts regularly face. And they have to take the massive amounts of alerts that are flooding in and triage them and investigate them and respond to them. And they have to sift through the noise to find significant attacks. It's like finding a needle in a stack of needles. And Google is helping to modernize security operations with a solution called Google SecOps. Think of it as Google Search for your security operations center, except it's supercharged with mandiant threat intelligence as well as generative AI and agentic capabilities. In fact, it's not just enterprises that are interested in Google SecOps. Because of its ability to scale and consume and search through massive amounts of data, nations are interested as well. And so we have a version of this called Cyber Shield. And nations around the world, including here in Asia Pacific, are choosing to make Google part of their security team by adopting Google Cyber Shield. Let's take a look at a few examples. And we'll start with Israel.
Thank you, Google, for making a child's dream come true, for making all of us the cyber knights of the modern era, and for a new, strong, and shining cyber shield. But this time, it's an on-cloud platform that will be the next generation of the national level security solutions and technologies, and will build a better sectorial and national immunity.
And then we'll move to Kuwait.
In our assessment, we knew that the complexity of transforming detection, threat detection, and response can only be done with the help of a technology leader and the critical partners for delivery. And that's where Google came into the picture. We believe defending a nation requires united national cyber defense with real-time knowledge sharing and situational awareness of the threat landscape. Our vision for future secure national defense is aligned with Google.
And finally, UAE.
And I'm thrilled to announce a significant milestone in our strategic collaboration with Google Cloud. The UAE government has approved Google Cloud to launch a cutting-edge cybersecurity center of excellence in Abu Dhabi, the capital of UAE.
Sometimes security is about doing what's right at no cost. This is Brian Krebs. He's a cybersecurity journalist, and he reports, among other things, on threat actors. Some of those threat actors retaliate against him. So in 2013, they tried to frame him for heroin possession, and they also levied a dangerous swatting attempt against his home. In 2016, they threw a distributed denial of service attack against his website, 620 gigabits per second, that took his website down for 3 days. 9 years later, they tried it again, but this time with a DDoS attack 10 times that size. However, this time, his website didn't experience any issues. It was protected by Google's Project Shield. This is a capability we provide at no cost to journalists and vulnerable organizations so that their digital voices can't be silenced. And it uses a technology called Cloud Armor, which is a capability which we use to protect our own Google Cloud customers. In security, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow, but Google's thinking years ahead. Imagine a world where something can be on, where something could be off, where something could be both on and off simultaneously. That's the counterintuitive world of quantum mechanics. And one day, quantum computers could potentially break the encryption we use to protect data. To counter this, Google's building quantum-resistant algorithms and embedding them in technologies like Chrome and Google Cloud to safeguard data. Now, one thing defenders need to worry about is the most sophisticated attackers. Often these are nation-state attackers or the APEC attackers. In 2020, An incredibly stealthy cyber attack infiltrated 18,000 organizations all at once. What it did was it was a poison implant that was embedded in legitimate code. And as that legitimate code was pushed out to organizations, they were all instantly infiltrated. That attack was incredibly stealthy. Those 18,000 organizations didn't notice it. And you can imagine across those 18,000 organizations, every security control, every technology, every service is somehow represented in at least one of those 18,000 organizations. But none of those investments caught this attack. That's how stealthy it was. Even the multi-billion-dollar US government security apparatus failed to detect this malicious implant. But Mandiant detected it. It detected it based on its experience, its frontline experience in dealing with nation-state attackers. And it alerted the world and the victims who were infiltrated by this attack so that they could remediate it. And we were able to identify a nation-state actor we call APT 29 behind this attack. And it's not just nation-state attackers. It's also financially motivated threat actors. So in 2020, a journalist interviewed one of the ransomware crews and asked that ransomware crew, "What do you think about Mandiant?" And the ransomware crew's answer was quite interesting. They said, "I don't fear the FBI. I fear Mandiant. They're the scariest threat intelligence company, especially now that they're owned by Google." It's this reputation that Mandiant has globally, which sets it apart from other cybersecurity vendors. One of the things we might ask is, what is Google doing to protect its own services from misuse by threat actors? Take a look at this Google Calendar. It's got an entry in the description field with what looks like random text. But what this actually is another nation-state threat actor called APT41, who's using Google Calendar as a covert communications channel. So malware can rendezvous with instructions from APT41 so it can know what to do and how to act next. Google's own threat intelligence team spotted this campaign and was able to disrupt it and reported on it publicly. Now, if it's ransomware has a certain amount of global cost in aggregate across all the victims, but even worse than that is scamming. And Google's helping to address scam protection as well. This was done in partnership with the Singapore government on an app called Scam Shield, where we embedded a capability we call Web Risk, which has the ability to disrupt scams even before they impact victims. It's a capability built into Chrome and other browsers which can block scamming websites. For organizations like banks that are concerned about impersonation sites against their own brands, which try and capture the credentials of their customers, WebRisk can be an effective tool to protecting those customers against these types of attacks. And then there's attacks on AI. And for that, maybe what we can do is have a conversation with Gemini. Gemini, I saw a Google blog called Adversarial Misuse of Generative AI. Can you tell me what you found interesting in that blog?
I found the blog post really interesting. It highlights the potential risks of using generative AI in harmful ways. The post discusses how AI models can be tricked into producing harmful content, like hate speech or misinformation, and how this could be used to manipulate or deceive people. It also talks about how these models could be used to create deepfakes or other forms of synthetic media that could be used to impersonate someone or spread false information. It's definitely a topic we need to be aware of as generative AI becomes more widespread.
In that blog, it was reported that you defended yourself quite well against those attacks. Can you tell us a little bit about how you did that?
The blog post you mentioned discusses how Gemini was able to defend against adversarial attacks. It mentions that Gemini has built-in safeguards to prevent it from being misused, such as filters to detect and block harmful content, and techniques to make it more resistant to manipulation. The post also highlights that Gemini is constantly being improved to stay ahead of potential threats.
That's great. Thanks, Gemini. You might think that successes like these are commonplace, but in fact, organizations are being victimized by cyber attacks all the time. And in some cases, those victims are security companies themselves. Their networks or products can also be the victims of advanced cyber attacks. And when that happens, those cybersecurity firms often turn to Google Mandiant for help. They often have the same questions: what happened and what should we do about it? And who's behind these attacks? For example, this year, last year, we've seen notable instances where remote management IT companies have had their networks and products compromised. We've seen email security gateway companies likewise have their products compromised. We've seen security vendors that offer VPN solutions or router solutions have zero-day exploits exploited on their systems, impacting multiple customers. In these sorts of situations, they need help understanding what these threat actors did because the attacks are often very sophisticated. Mandiant has the experience there and can help those organizations become whole more quickly, get answers for their customers more quickly. So maybe you're thinking of considering making Google part of your security team, and we can help you in many ways, but there is one thing to consider. Security is a bit like quality. You can't really add it after the fact, or at least it's a lot harder to add after the fact. So you need to be thinking about security at the early stages of planning your digital transformation, in the early stages of planning your AI journey, and embedding security in a way that it's integrated in those solutions and not bolted on. No organization wants to lose their intellectual property or customer data. No organization wants to have a business disruption resulting from a cyber attack. In order to protect effectively against these types of attacks, you need to build a culture where security is everyone's responsibility. It's the CEO who has to face the press in the wake of a cyber attack. It's the general counsel who has to navigate the multi-jurisdictional legal consequences. It's the PR and marketing teams that need to restore a tarnished brand. And it's the CFO who has to figure out how to make the stock price recover. Everyone has a stake in cybersecurity, and everyone has a part to play. It's important to remember, though, that it not be an afterthought, that you address security up front. And lastly, security isn't just technology. It's not just buying a technical solution, installing it, and hoping that it'll keep you safe. Security is people, process, and technology, and Google can help you with all three. So as you embark on your security journey, your AI journey, your cloud journey, make Google part of your security team. Work with your field sales representative, work with the AI teams, and ask that security be part of those early discussions and conversations so that you can set yourself up for success rather than having to figure out how to retrofit security months later. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the summit.